Hello again, everybody. Welcome back for another week. I hope that you all are doing well and staying healthy uh, as the as the world, falls apart around us, and no one really does anything to stop it or to help. We will stay focused though. We will go forward and talk about poetry. Let me say first of all, I just wanted to remind everyone that our rough draft for the poetry essay is due next Monday. So hopefully you're starting to get some ideas and work on that. We have now read all of the poems that you have the option of writing about here. I think we have like five of them or so. This week we're mostly gonna I have like one essay and then some other stuff for us to do, but you have read all the poems. So I would definitely start trying to think about thesis and what you might want to write about and all this kind of stuff. In this video, I want to get into Mississippi Goddam by Nina Simone. Another excellent song. Hopefully, you've seen the video for this. I think under last week I posted the video of Nina Simone performing the song. And I guess I'll say about that first. With the actual performance itself, I think I wanted us to watch that because I think you get a good sense of like the frustration that builds up in her voice as the scene goes on, until at the end on that last "goddamn" where she really strings it out, and you can feel like the emotion and stuff. So yeah, I think that's kind of helps us to understand kind of the politics of the song, right? Um, and that kind of frustration almost reminds me of like the kind of urgency, maybe not in the same exact way, but the kind of urgency that we saw with It's Nation Time. Okay, so I do want to get into some of the actual lyrics here. Um, so if we're just looking at this poem and the poem song, and the way I've been suggesting that we try to analyze this stuff all semester, um, is to kind of look for something that sticks out, right? Notice something, look for some kind of repetition or something like that, and see where it takes you. So obviously we have the chorus of the song, which is some repetition, but I think just looking at it again here, I think what sticks out to me the most um, are these two sections that are like she says something, and then we get do it slow. So I'm looking like towards, well, I get the bottom of my first page, but on the lyrics, where we get a lines like, but that's just the trouble, do it slow, washing the windows, do it slow, picking the cotton, do it slow, and then going down to the next time, where we get things like, but that's just the trouble, do it slow, desegregation, do it slow, mass participation, do it slow. And it has "do it slow" in quotation marks on the written version of it, and in the actual song, if you remember, the lines "do it slow" are sung by the backup singers, like the other people in the band. It's not sung by her. So I think this is interesting. Why do we get this repeated "do it slow"? So I think the fact that it comes from the other people in the band shows something that's kind of like an outside voice, right? Where she's talking about, like desegregation, do it slow. Where she is kind of bringing these things up and then being told from the outside, do it slow, slow down, it's too fast. We have to do it gradually, right? Um, so yeah, and then even one of the last ones is do things gradually, but bring more tragedy. Is one of the lines in there. So to me, I think that this connects with something from letter from Birmingham jail, the MLK letter that we took a look at. And I think the do it slow here is kind of the voice of like the what MLK says, like the white moderate. In the essay, in that letter, he describes like people in like the political mainstream who generally agree with the civil rights movement, right? Or at least who agree like, yeah, like black people should be treated better in America, but are very quick to criticize the kind of protest that's done, or when it's done, or how it's done, or they thought that King's calls to end segregation immediately. They thought that we need to like phase it out or whatever. Um, it was just this kind of thing of like we can't do this too fast. We have to do it gradually. We have to go slow, right? And Martin Luther King even calls his a book that he writes that's like a collection of some of his speeches and stuff, including Letter from Birmingham Jail. He calls it "Why We Can't Wait." So even MLK, who you could look at as being more moderate at least than somebody like Malcolm X. Even he was viewed as being too radical, right, and told that the things he wanted was too extreme, and he needed to wait, and we have to take it slow and be gradual and figure it out, right. So I think what we see in the Nina Simone song with that "Do It Slow" is kind of the voice of like the white radical, like MLK says, kind of the political mainstream saying, "Hey, slow down, let's not get crazy here." Um, and I think we know how Nina Simone, and Amiri Baraka, how they would respond to something like that. So that's something that sticks out to me. And then, okay, now let's look at the chorus. So the chorus to the song that we get maybe 3 or 4 times. Alabama's gotten me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. And everybody knows about Mississippi. Goddamn. So Alabama, Tennessee, and Mississippi. I think these are all southern states. Obviously, these are all states that would have pretty heavy segregation laws, and that definitely have a big history in terms of slavery and racism in America. So I think like Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. I think that makes sense. Like you'd be upset about it, or you lose rest about. It's basically you're just like you're pissed off about what's going on, right? The one I'm more interested in is the last line of the chorus, and everybody knows about Mississippi. Goddamn. Everybody knows. What does that mean? Why would she say everybody knows? And it's again in this kind of like frustrated, angry, almost sort of tone. Everybody knows about Mississippi, and then goddamn, which I think adds to like the anger with it, right? Everybody knows. What does that mean? I think the implication would have to be like everyone is aware of how like racist it is, of how segregated it is, of the murders and like lynchings and things that go on in these places. And I guess the unsaid half would be like everybody knows, but nobody does anything about it. Like it's not a secret. Like these things were major news stories, and like with Mississippi, particularly, you had like the Emmett Till case, very famous case of a young black, really a boy, a teenager, getting murdered. Medgar Evers, another black man, getting murdered in Mississippi. So I think Mississippi did have kind of a special role, especially in like this part from like the 40s and 50s, and then Simone's song is a little bit later. But she says, and everybody knows. So yeah, so it's like these things are in the news. It's not a secret, right? Um, like the racist violence that happened in these places was not hidden from sight. It was national news stories. So I think that maybe explains some of the frustration. Everybody knows about this shit, but nothing's done to stop it. Nothing's done about it, or people just don't care. So we get that kind of frustrated, goddamn, that like serious anger. So I think that's what I would say about kind of the chorus there. Um, One thing I found interesting, again, I'm thinking about some of the essays that I had given you for homework, the Martin Luther King and the Malcolm X. She mentions a couple, like religion, a couple of times in the song. There's one line here, kind of towards the beginning. She says, "I don't belong here. I don't belong there. I've even stopped believing in prayer." And MLK raises this in Letter from Birmingham Jail, but I think he asked the question like, uh, of like what role organized religion should play in the civil rights movement. Um, I think the way we think about it, we view the church as helping, right? Like MLK was a pastor or whatever, and I think they saw the church as a way to like organize people and mobilize them and get them together and get out and do a protest or a march or whatever. But he asked the question in that essay of like, is the church too connected to the status quo to actually be a useful like force for change in society? And I think Simone, she's saying here, I've even stopped believing in prayer. So I think she's also interested in that question of like what role religion is supposed to play, and like that's another difference between kind of the more Martin Luther King side and the Malcolm X side. Is that Martin Luther King side was like explicitly Christian, right? Whereas Malcolm X, this wasn't true for everybody, who was like black nationalist. But a lot of, or I don't know a lot, but at least a certain amount of people who consider themselves black nationalists were also interested in like the Nation of Islam and this kind of stuff. So there's kind of like a religious divide there too. especially about like what role can the Christian church play in trying to help this. So I think we see that from Nina Simone here too. Okay, and I think I got one more line that I really want to pick out here. And then, throughout the poem, we have these different scenes that kind of connect to the civil rights movement so we can see like the kind of political stuff that she's interested to. Like there's this one stanza, picket lines and school boycotts. All I want is equality for my sister, my brother, my people, and me. She talks about America being a country which is, oh, but this whole country is full of lies. You're all going to die and die like flies. I don't trust you anymore. Um, so yeah, I think we can see her kind of lack of hope, right? That America, that like the American government or that white people in America are like capable of being made to see how bad this is and convinced that it needs to change immediately. Um, so, okay, the last thing I want to look here is at the very end, the last stanza. She starts off, "You don't have to live next to me, just give me my equality." So I think this is another kind of fundamental thing that distinguishes more black nationalist strain of thought here from the more like peaceful protest side. You don't have to live next to me, just give me my equality. So like, MLK is all about like integration, right? A lot of his biggest victories were getting segregation outlawed in various cities and places. And Malcolm X makes fun of him in Message to the Grassroots, where he says, like, what kind of goal is that? Like, you could share a counter with white people. Like, obviously, it was a big victory to get rid of segregation in those ways. But like this line, you don't have to live next to me, just give me my equality. I think we see that for Nina Simone, like integration, like if you think of like the "I Have a Dream" speech of a little black boy and a little white boy holding hands or whatever, and that's MLK's dream. She doesn't seem as interested in that exact thing, right? You don't have to live next to me, just give me equality. So it's like we don't necessarily need to be best friends or live in the same neighborhoods or hang out on the weekends. She more just doesn't want to be exploited or taken advantage of. Just give me my equality. So it's like, and this goes back to like what I was talking about, one of the videos from last week, the black nationalism video, about the idea of like racial solidarity, right? Where like it's more about the for black nationalism, it was more about black people coming together, like being unified and having their own institutions, right? Having their own ways to like seize power, not having to like become integrated with like under the current U.S. government, like of being, of like let's all be ruled, by this government that they believed was structurally racist, right? That they're more interested in building like their own sites of power and stuff like that. So we get this line, you don't have to live next to me. So I just think it's a fundamentally, again, different vision and different goal, right? That's something I want to emphasize too, is that I think the visions for what equality means, like for MLK, I think equality would require living next to each other, right? It would require like black and white people coming together and acknowledging each other as humans and whatever, living happily in the same communities, right? Where she says you don't have to live next to me. So it's kind of a fundamentally different vision of what equality is and what it would mean and what it would look like. Um, so I think we'd see that there. So I think generally I paired this poem with its nation time. I think it does fit in more to some of those themes that I described as being part of black nationalism. But yeah, I think it makes some different points than its nation time, goes about it in a different way. So we can have a different analysis of it. All right, I guess that's all I'll say for this poem. Talk to you soon.